Hi, I'm Mark, and welcome to this video on 7 animated lighting ideas. Now, what I mean by animated are lights that do something besides just sit there and make light. These lights blink or move or something. Now, one thing I want to say before I get started is I am not a Redstoner, so please don't leave comments about how I could have made it more efficient or better or whatever. You're going to get an idea of how it works, and that's good enough. Now, this first idea is a lighthouse. Now, I grew up on the lakeshore of Lake Michigan, and I know how lighthouses blink. What they do is they have a long pause, and then they blink. Long pause, then they blink. Just like this one. Now, the way I did this, let's go behind and look at the redstone, was to make a long clock with a fairly short pulse, and then I just transferred that up this line of redstone torches. Now, when we get at the top here, there's a redstone torch in the center, and that lights all 4 lamps simultaneously, which is pretty cool. Now, this next one is runway lights. If you imagine my short little miniature runway here, it looks kind of like the real thing, where the lights are shining and moving up the runway, kind of chasing along. Now, if we look at the clock here, it's a pretty small clock, but what I did is I ran that into a bunch of inverters. And I ran the inverters all the way down one after another. If we look here, there's a little piece of redstone dust taking it over to the other side. And each of these is set up the same way. And what we end up with is chasing lights. Now, you can make this runway as long as you wanted to, and just use the same technique. Now, let's go down to the other side of the runway here. Next one is a blinking sign. In this case, it says hi. Isn't that nice? And all it is a clock running to each of these lamps. I've got one general clock, and it runs to each of the lamps. Now, this one's pretty simple because it's just the word hi. The more lamps you have, the more words you have, the harder it's going to be to set up this redstone. But you get the idea. You're just going to have to spend a little time to make that work. Now, next up is the flashing house of doom, doom, doom. You could either use this for a party house or for a haunted house. All I did was I hooked up a lamp to a very, very short clock. Oh, by the way, if you get seizures easily, you might want to turn away. And this short clock here was started opposite of what you maybe are used to. Instead of turning off the clock and putting a torch in and removing it, the clock starts on. And then what you do is pop out some of the redstone and pop it back in immediately, and you get this really, really fast flicker. My son calls it the fastest redstone clock there is. I don't know if that's true or not. Next up are the police lights. I was going to build a police car with these fine lights blinking on and off, but I'm really bad at that, so I didn't. But you get the idea. They're like police lights. Red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. Okay, I've seen these behind me enough to know what they look like. This one was really simple as well. All I did was set up a clock and then put one side of the clock up to this side and put the other side of the clock up to this side. Pretty simple stuff. And you end up with red and blue lights blinking back and forth. The next one I like to call my dance floor of randomness. Notice how the lights are moving randomly. You never quite know what's going to light and unlight, or if it's going to sit there and do nothing for a while. Now, the way I did this has nothing to do with some complex redstone. I use what I call randomness of pigs and chickens. By putting pigs and chickens in there, I get the randomness. Oh, by the way, they're on pressure plates here. And the pressure plates will transfer their redstone signal up. Now, the pigs and chickens tend to move differently, so you get a different effect. And you can see those chickens moving around and pressing on the pressure plates. So you get this random effect. Pretty cool, huh? Last up, I'm going to turn it to night here. Last up is a more elaborate lighthouse light. Now, if you notice, this one circles around. See how that goes around and around? Now I'd like to stack these on top of each other, but I'd never quite figured out how to do that, so I gave up. How's that for dedication? But I'm sure that it's doable. Now if we look down here, all I did was build a clock using the lamps themselves, and then put some spots of redstone dust to connect everything together. I'll go up here so you can take a look, since this one's a little more complex. And that's all I did. And here is a whole bunch of blinking and flashing stuff. Now if you like this video, please leave a comment or a like. If you didn't like this video, keep that to yourself. And either way, subscribe. Thanks for watching.